Hello everyone, Phoenix61 here with some Skull and Bones shenanigans today. So we are talking pieces of 8. We are getting close to, we're kind of at our end game mode for 8s, right? So if you haven't checked out my other pieces of 8 video, this is going to be, we've got several videos that we've done leading up to this point, even for each season, right? So at this point in season 3, we've got all of the locations captured, and we are literally just basically going through. This is my routine every time we sign in. Basically, we are going to fund whatever factories need funding. And then when we see that a location is almost full of 8s, we are going to assign one of the fleet ships that I kind of have just built out in reserve. This is their sole purpose. We have 29 ships that we've been using just specifically to collect from factories for 8s production, right? So you can see over on the left, we're at about 66,200 or so pieces of 8 an hour, and that's just because we haven't, there's a few locations not funded. Sometimes I accidentally pick the wrong funding amount, and I don't pick the maximum 8s production amount too. But we get up to about 6,500 an hour, maybe a little bit more, just depending. That's kind of the most I've seen. And then if you do any defend missions or supply runs, that's going to boost you for a little bit, right? Whether those are worth it to you or not, that's totally up to you. I usually at least do the defend one so that it doesn't shut the factory down. But as you can see, we have up in the top right, we've hoarded almost 2 million pieces of 8 at this point. So once you kind of buy everything you want for the season, and if you really only need to get to diamond level to reap the end of season rewards, right? So at this point, if you get to this, it's kind of sort of just bragging rights. It is nice to be able to buy materials from the sort of the helm bartender person, right? So that can be pretty big, but then, a lot of times, there's some unique stuff out there that you can't just buy anymore, right? So, it's got its weight to it, right? I was just checking around, to see, which factories sort of produce the most. This was something I didn't focus on. This one's here 129, right? This one here I think this might be the best Saint Emil one at 161. Because when you're early on, it's and you're collecting factories, it's kind of well, which one should I try and upgrade first? And I didn't really take that approach. For the most part, I was just kind of interested in which ones are going to be convenient and easy for me to pick up from, right? So I picked a lot around St. Anne to upgrade those first, or if I was visiting them for doing plundering missions and stuff like that, right? So I didn't really focus too much on that, because then by the time you get through upgrading everything in the in the smuggler's hideout in the helm office, right, then some of that stuff can change, and then the trade routes and the territories all play an effect, right? So so after we've gone in and done our funding for the day and sort of rearranging ships, right, we're going to go into the helm office and start up some production. So we'll collect whatever was there previously, right, from the last time I signed out, whatever we made. We could make Gold Skull Gin. But the reason you're doing this is going to be part of your funding process, right, your silver earning, in order so that you can fund those factories to then make you pieces of 8, right? So, and if you've seen some of my previous videos, this is going to seem a little redundant, right? But basically what I do is I do all these helm liaison missions. So for the most part, these are roving missions, and then you also have some just supply deals on land too. So you can go in. Typically with the land ones, I'll go and track it. That way it's easier to find the location on the mini-map, right? And then once you get to that location, it's going to be on your compass at the top of your screen, right? So it's easier to find the person that you need to run up to and sell. So the reason I do these don't offer, the just regular supply deal like this that's on land. They don't offer you a lot of materials, but the reason I do this one is just because it's super quick and easy, right? And then if you've been doing this, you have plenty of silver, so the 600 silver to turn these in and trade for the helm materials is, a drop in the bucket, right? So we'll pick these up, and then since it does let you carry 6 missions at a time, we'll grab as many of the roving deals that we can hold on to and do all of these at once, right? So this is just all part of your funding your factories process, right? So we'll go and do this really quick. One thing to note here, I still see a lot of people sailing up to the ship and exchanging their silver. I sort of get the mentality, like the gameplay mentality of like, yeah, we'll unload some cargo so we have room, of like, you know, doing it how you're supposed to do it, right? But and then there's also the idea of like, well, I'm a pirate, I should just be able to pirate it, right? So like, but in reality, killing the ship, just sinking the ship, is not only like quicker, but I think you get a little bit more materials as well, and then plus you don't lose the silver, so you don't, you know, you don't have to give that, you don't have to hand over any silver, right? So it's a freebie. You do get this like death marked by the helm, you know, warning thing that does eventually, like, you know, die off. Like there's a limit to how long you're hunted by the helm. But in all honesty, like if you're up at this level, if you've got like a ship level like, you know, 11 or above, I would say, it's just not, I don't feel any threat from the helm ships, right? Like it's almost a mechanic that's like too easy that I feel like they should change, right? Like it's just like, there, to me, there seems like there's no downside to sinking the ship, right? Like being marked by the helm just doesn't seem to affect or create any more of a challenge for the gameplay, you know, after doing this. So I'd always sink it. Like it's quicker, I don't have to sail all the way up to it, I don't have to interact with it. You know, you could use something longer range if you wanted to, and snipe it if you needed to, right? So like a mortar or something, you get 600 meters away and just bomb it, right? Like it's, yeah, easy. But yeah, I've always got water barrels on me, so I'm just constantly using them just to get from place to place. It's kind of nice with this season, they changed some of the like, I don't know, like the mechanics for, you know, buying stuff from vendors, right? You can buy a lot more these days, right? So I'm pretty much, anytime I'm up on shore in St. Anne or Talak-Pinjar or whatever, like I'm just buying as many water barrels as that person has every time I go up to them. So then we'll dock here, right? And so you get, and then we'll unload our, you know, our haul here from the, you know, 2 minutes that it took to sail out there, right? So quite a bit of helm materials, right? So that's just all part of like your like regular cycle of collecting helm materials, manufacturing those final helm end products, and then the next step would be selling them to either Admiral Rama here in Talak-Pinjara or to Skurlock over in St. Anne. So this is what I'm talking about, yeah, like Hawker here. So like I specifically use for like repair kits, I'm always using only Enhanced Repair Kit 1 and then water barrels, right? So the reason I use Enhanced Repair Kit 1 is just because that gives you the most bang for your buck as far as the amount that it heals you in comparison to the shortest cooldown time, right? So that one's the one, in my mind, has the best balance, right? So here we are in the lab, right? So previously we were in the distillery over in St. Anne, and so this is in Talak-Pinjara. So we've got a bunch of products done here. I'm going to do the same thing, right? So, you know, I'm not picking anything specific, any specific products to make, right? We're just producing them whenever we can, because you can sell the end products, the black snuff and the black lotus opium, right? You can sell all of those to Rama, and then so you want to sell the higher end ones, right? Because that's where you're going to get the most. Here we can see Fort Dulis does have 2 missions for plundering, right? So a lot of times if it's an easier fort to plunder and there's 2 missions for the same location, I'll pick those up just because that's kind of a good deal as far as like how long it takes you in time wise. There is also a rogue hunt that shows up occasionally that's near where the roving supply deal is too, so if you wanted to double up there, you could do that one as well. So that's kind of why I was highlighting that spot in the map. But yeah, so we'll go to our final step here, which is selling, helm end products to Admiral Rama. And then that's how you're going to get your silver. And it's just, if you've ever been short on silver, start doing this process because you're never going to have an issue with silver ever again, right? We'll fast forward through her dialogue. go to buy and sell, and then you can tab over to sell, and then you can press Y to cycle through your warehouse inventory, and then just scroll down till you find those Helm products, right? So yeah, the Black Lotus Opium and the Silver Snuff are the ones you want to sell. Don't sell anything else to her because it's not worth it, right? These are the ones that you're going to get the most money for. You're getting 250 silver per each one. So we sell about 2,000 and get about $500,000 in silver. So that should last us quite a while. She also has blueprints and stuff that you can buy for some of those Helm products. So if you're interested in those, that's probably the best. You know, I would do it the exact same way. Produce those at the, you know, the laboratory or distillery and go from there, right? So here I was just going to highlight, so you can, you know, each territory and like trade route and stuff also has, some of these have an option to do like a mass collection or pickup, right? So just reassigning some ships here while we were sort of in process here, but you're still going to get, you do have to pay a little bit, you know, you give up some pieces of 8s, but like I said, like if you get to that point, you may or may not even care. So the best way to do it is still to, you know, if you really want to maximize how much 8s you get, right, you'd still want to build out fleet ships. So I was coming over here to the shipwright, and, you know, my choice was the Vanguard, right, the Snow ship, just because if you look over at the right, the materials, there's nothing really that's like high-end or rare materials that are hard to find to craft the Snow. So literally all 29 of my fleet ships are all Snows, and then I just equipped whatever, you know, extra furniture and weapon pieces I had available to try and get them up to level 11 or 12 area. Some locations, like this one in particular, requires, you know, you can see the recommended ship rank is 14. I'm still just assigning one of my level 12 ships to it. It's usually not a big deal. It's usually fine. Occasionally you go in here and you'll see that the ship needs repair, and so you just pay a little bit of silver to get it back up and running, but it really hasn't made much of any difference. It's still so much faster than trying to collect on your own, and then yeah. So that's my recommendation for those. I wouldn't sink materials into trying to upgrade a ship, you know, unless you've got one that you're just not using right now that's at that level, you know, 13, right? Because we're in Season 3. You can't quite get to level 14 on your ship just yet. Maybe next season they'll bump that up for us, right? And then here I was just cycling over the territories so you can see which ones kind of have the option to do a mass collection, right? This one here doesn't have it, but it does give you 500 silver an hour. And so, yeah, and then this one here, oh, we're over the trade route. This one here, you can see you could hold X to collect profit, but you'd lose about 5% of your 8s from doing it that way, right? So, like, you know, it's totally up to you, like that, you know, this is going to be quicker and easier, right? But I think having the fleet ships is still kind of nice because then those are running collection even while you're signed out. So if you have factories that are like approaching that getting full status, right, when it fills up with 8s, it stops producing and stops collecting unless you've got a fleet ship there, right? So that still would be your best bet for overall, like, you know, collecting 8s, right? So we're going to take a look at the Empire here. Yeah, so I've got everything funded. You can see up in the top left we are at just over 6,500 8s an hour. And we'll take a quick peek at the leaderboards here. I am at about 100 for season, and we're slacking off on the weekly side. We're at 255, right? But like I said, like this, other than like just bragging rights, like I guess it really doesn't matter. Once you get to the diamond tier for 8s collection, that's really the only thing that's going to matter, and you'll get a reward. If you haven't done this already, this first one here, this Smuggler's Operations in the upgrades, this is going to be the one that has the biggest impact on producing the Helm products at the lab and the distillery. Because the biggest things in here are, well, one, once you get through these upgrades, you can actually produce those higher end products. You can produce the Gold Skull rum and the Gold Skull gin and the equivalent over in, you know, Talak Banjara. But then also, as you go through these upgrades, it increases your chances to produce 2 products per 1 material that you put in. So basically you're doubling your profit from it at that point, right? So this one's an important one to just solo focus on upgrading early on if you haven't already done so, just because it's going to make a big difference for your overall how much silver you're earning, right? Empire management's another one to focus on too if you haven't already done so. We've talked about this in previous videos, but you need to upgrade through there in order to be able to own more of the factories. So if you're running into a situation where it won't let you pick up any more factories, right, that's probably why. And then some of these others, you know, we talked about them in previous videos, but you know, you can skim through them. And then a lot of the ones off to the right are all just sort of area specific bonuses, so I did those last, right? So, but that is going to be our Pieces of 8's video for probably our final one for this season. We'll have to see, right? So we've got it sort of running at max power. So make sure you're following the channel, guys. Please do subscribe. That really helps me out, and we'll see you next time.